Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the food you eat and completely change how you think about your next meal. So let me ask you something right off the bat. If you think about your entire life as 100%, what percentage of that is actually about food and eating? What do you think? Maybe 30%? 50%? Go on, take a guess. You ready for this? The answer is 100%. Every single thing you do, every breath you take, every idea you have, it's all powered by the food you eat. It's not just a part of your life. It is your life.
So what does that even mean, 100%? Let's break it down in our first section, the 100% truth about food.
Think about it. The energy you're using right this second to listen to me, that came from food. The actual building blocks that constructed you, from a little kid to who you are today, all from food. And it goes so much deeper than just biology. Food is how we connect, how we celebrate, how we build cultures. It's the whole shebang.
But what if we look at this from a much more primal angle? Let's reframe this whole thing with our next idea. Eating is actually a primal competition.
Let's just toss out the old definition of eating for a minute. At its most basic, raw level, eating is a competition. See, there's only so much energy to go around on this planet. So every living thing, from a tiny bacteria to a giant whale, is in a constant, brutal fight to get some of it.
And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? It's a two-front war. You've got to evolve to not become food yourself, and at the same time, you've got to evolve to get better at turning other things into food. That's the game of life.
And this creates what's known as an evolutionary arms race. You know, the classic scene on the savannah, right? A lion hunts a zebra for energy. So over generations, the zebras that are faster and more alert are the ones that survive. But then, for the lions to survive, they have to get smarter, sneakier, and stronger.
And this cycle, this constant one-upping, it just never stops. It's this incredible, endless evolutionary arms race that has shaped all of life on Earth.
For millions of years, that was the game. Predator versus prey. But about a century ago, a brand new player entered the field and just flipped the entire board. This is what we're going to call the ultra-processed hijack. Okay, so first things first, we've got to get this straight. There's a massive difference between regular, processed food, like bread or yogurt, stuff humans have made forever, and ultra-processed food, or UPFs. These are two totally different things. So what are UPFs? Well, you can't really call them food. They're more like substances. They're industrial formulas made in a lab with chemical additives, all designed for one thing and one thing only, to be hyper-palatable. That's a fancy way of saying they're engineered to be so ridiculously tasty that your brain just can't say no.
And I want you to think about this next time you're out. Just pop into a convenience store or walk down the snack aisle at the supermarket. Look around. The chips, the sodas, the candy bars, how much of that is real food? And how much is one of these industrial formulations? The answer is kind of terrifying.
And here is the hijack. Here's the really sneaky part. These substances are literally built to short-circuit your body's I'm full signal. That ancient system that tells you when you've had enough fuel, UPFs are engineered to just blow right past it, making you want more and more and more, even when you're not hungry anymore. They're basically designed to be addictive.
So when you intentionally mess with our ancient biology like that, well, the consequences are pretty devastating. And that brings us to the hidden health crisis this has created.
I mean, just look at this list. The scientific evidence is overwhelming now. A diet high in these ultra-processed substances is linked to a higher risk of, almost everything you don't want. Heart disease, cancer, diabetes, depression, dementia, and even a higher chance of dying from any cause. It's just staggering.
But if there's one connection that really stops you in your tracks, it came from this massive study in 2022. Scientists followed over 72,000 people to see how these UPFs affected our most precious organ, our brain.
The results were just wow. They found that for every 10% increase of UPFs in a person's diet, their risk of developing dementia jumped by 25%. Let that sink in for a second. A small change in what you eat could have an absolutely catastrophic result.
Okay, I know that's a lot and it's heavy stuff. But the goal here isn't to scare you, it's to arm you with knowledge, which brings us to the most important part of all of this, regaining control of your plate.
The key takeaway is this. It's not a personal failure. It's not about a lack of willpower. You are up against a system that is designed for you to overconsume. And just knowing that, just understanding how the game is rigged, that's the absolute first step to taking back your power.
Which leads to this powerful idea.
In a world that is constantly trying to manipulate our most basic instincts, simply choosing to eat real food becomes an act of rebellion. It's about self-mastery. And hey, if you can learn to control this fundamental part of your life, what can't you control?
So we're going to end it right there with a question for you. You know the rules of the game now. You can see the board clearly. The next time you sit down for a meal, you're not just picking something to eat. You're deciding which side of this evolutionary battle you want to be on. So, knowing all this, what are you going to choose?